Hey everybody, it's Dave Dugdale, learningdslrvideo.com. So this is my review of the FlapJack lights. I've got two here. One I actually know the model number of. It's the C-200L. It's basically 3 inches by 9 inches. And it's an LED that has edge lighting technology. So basically, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a bunch of LEDs and they're kind of pointing inward. So it gives us a very nice, even light. It's very kind of like an iPad, if you were to hold up an iPad to your face. Now this one, I'm kind of confused on what exactly they sent me, because these actually came from FotodioX and not from B&H, and I don't know what this is because I've measured it. It's 8.5 inches in diameter, roughly maybe almost 8 3/4. But they have two model numbers. There's a 10-inch version that they're calling, and then a 7-inch version. So if this one's 8.5, it's kind of in between. I don't know if it's the 300 or the C-200. But anyway, same technology. Turned it on. It's fairly bright. I've done a lot of tests on my second YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed, definitely go over and check it out because I've got a lot of tests and miscellaneous videos. Definitely check out my second YouTube channel. I'm not going to repeat all the tests here. I'm going to talk about construction quality and kind of my overall thoughts. All right, these lights come with a battery charger, and they also come with some soft cases. And this is one of them for the smaller version actually. And they're nice cases, but that's not really where they shine. Where I think they really shine is their portability. I almost call these like the carry-on LED light system, I guess you could see, because you can get a 3-point system into your luggage. For instance, when I went to Hawaii, I packed my clothes and I layered the lights in with the clothes. I even did some little bit of bubble wrap. I had my tripod in there. I had the Nebula 4000 in there, my large suitcase, not my camera bag, but my large case. And with airlines today, they have, a lot of them have, like United has a 50-pound limit. And so actually you can go to 70 pounds. I think you have to be a premier status or something like that. And if you go over 50, then it's almost like you might as well ship it because they're going to charge you so much. You might as well just put it in a box and have it shipped and not have to worry about it. So I was able to get everything into 50 pounds with all that stuff, which I thought was pretty darn good. So next up, I want to talk about the construction of the lights. For the most part, they're really thin. They're only a 1/2 inch thin. They've got some really nice construction around here. They feel really solid. The dimmer, on the other hand, protrudes out from it. And I'll show you some B-roll of some other LED lights that I have. And I wish they kind of had it recessed on the side, kind of like what I'm showing here, versus having it stick out like this. So when you are packing them in your luggage and let's say you don't have this battery in it, you might want to put some bubble wrap, but if they could change the design and move this off to the side so you roll your finger along the side, I think that would be a much better solution to make them even more portable, like the perfect carry-on light. Now, one of the great things about the whole portability is the battery versus this large brick that it comes with. It's much easier to travel with this in a suitcase like a carry-on versus having like 3 of these and 3 lights. It's easier to carry 3 batteries. Now, the batteries work pretty well. If you're doing a typical interview and it's like about an hour, and you're trying to get like 2 minutes content out of that hour interview, it's gonna work pretty well for you. I ran a time lapse on these, so to find out when they started to get a little bit of dim, because they'll go even for about an hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes, and then they start to roll off. So you don't want your interview to go more than an hour if you're just bringing these batteries. I'm sure you can get actually larger ones that'll probably last you 2 hours. That might complete your whole interview. But the interview that I did, these lasted just fine, because the last thing I want to have happen is these start to dim even like 1/3 of a stop, and then having to go back and color grade that and change the contrast levels and all the other stuff. It would be kind of a pain. So battery wise, like I said before, these are kind of like the perfect carry-on suitcase luggage, because I would much rather carry this battery than I would like to carry all this stuff. Now I've got 2 of these units. Unfortunately, one of them, the AC adapter, and like I said before, I mostly used it with battery powered, but when I've used it on AC power, unfortunately one of these has kind of an intermittent connection, and I'll show you some B-roll of that, where you just wiggle the cord and it's really, really loose. And I've opened this up and you can see that it's pretty much mounted right to the circuit board, which is kind of unfortunate. If they had some other way of power system to go into there where there was, or even like a strain relief off to the side where you took some of the pressure off of that going into the circuit board, that makes me a little bit nervous in the longevity of this product. If they could come out with a 2.0 version where they have the dimmer off to the side for protection, and they move this over a little bit to the side and built a better casing for it so it's not as flimsy as it is, because both units were very flimsy on how it's mounted to the circuit board, and you could feel that. And if you just move it around just a little bit, it would intermittently cut in and out, and that's the last thing you want to have happen on a set during an interview, is these lights going in and out. So construction wise, I would give it really high marks in terms of the portability, and the ruggedness is pretty darn good, but unfortunately the AC adapter doesn't work that well. But if you're doing only battery powered, and this is what this light might work really well for you, in terms of the construction using just the battery, it works really well. All right, I don't know if you can see this or not, but at the lower part of the dimmer, even at the upper part of the dimmer, you can see as I rotate it, it kind of flickers as I go through the, I guess, the voltage ranges of this light on the dimmer. So just keep that in mind. This is something I've never done, where I've had somebody maybe controlling a light in a particular part of the scene where he's raising and lowering the light. Maybe he's hidden within the frame and he's shining it on something and it's going up and down. I've never done that, but if you're one of those people that are thinking about doing it with this light, it does kind of flicker a little bit. That being said, I haven't tried it at higher frame rates, but at 50th of a second, once you've got it and you've set it, I've never seen any flicker on the light itself when it's constant. So definitely keep that in mind. In terms of light output, if you've watched my second YouTube channel on these lights already, the test, I think it was 1 2/3 stop. So at the same distance from the light softboxes that I normally use from ePhoto, and they're not even mine. I've been borrowing them from a friend for years. And that's why they're not listed on my gear page, because I actually don't own them. But these lights are about 1 and almost 2 stops lower intensity than these lights. Now what you'll probably notice, I mean, there's a whole bunch of snow on the ground right now, so I'm getting a bunch of bounce from the snow up into me, and there's a lot of natural light coming into this room, and that's what's great about these lights, is they match pretty well daylight. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these soft boxes off that I've been using for years, and the reason I use them is I've learned over time that using natural light is kind of difficult, because if the sun goes in and out of a cloud, and sometimes if there are high wispy clouds, it's sometimes hard to notice when that happens. It's not like I can say I'm only going to shoot when the sun is out. The light fill level in this room goes up and down. So these lights are great because it keeps a nice even light on my face, so I expose just for those lights, and I let the ambient light in the room come up and down. But these lights are a lot dimmer, so what I need to do is get them closer to me without getting them into the frames. All right, now I've brought these lights in as close as I can. I've just measured them. This one's 44 inches away. This one's 42 inches away. They're both set as max 100% on the dimmer, as high as they'll go. And the clouds have rolled in slightly, so my ambient light in the room has come down slightly, but the exposure on my face, just judging from what I'm seeing here on my remote app, looks fairly decent. And you'll notice, what I think one of the best features about these lights is just getting those like catch lights in your eye. And they're a little, you can see they're circular. I don't know, because I'm not doing an extreme close-up right now. But on the A7S, what's great about this camera that I'm filming with is if you're doing an interview situation and you're using these lights and the lights are maybe not as close as they are now, well, you can just bump the ISO, because the A7S is like, go to 1600, it's no problem. On the GH4, it's a problem, but on the A7S, it's definitely not a problem. So these lights, in combination with the Sony A7S, might work really well if you do a lot of traveling for interviews and stuff like that, and you're just looking for a little bit of catch light, a little more consistent light on the face, especially as the sun is going in and out. So that's pretty much my review of these lights. If you're wondering, am I going to buy them? I don't know. That's a really good question. I'm close to buying maybe one of them, but that construction quality on the power going into the printed circuit board looks a little bit flimsy. If they could address that, maybe in a version 2 or something, I would definitely pick some of these up, because they're pretty cool. They have a lot of different uses. So that's pretty much it. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.